Brian, welcome.
Thank you, Dick. Just want to start off by saying that this is actually not a pitch for investment in me, it's a pitch for investment in yourselves. So a little bit different here. I'm the founder and CEO of LeaderSurf, Leadership Development Done Differently. I've spent 22 years of my career teaching people to be more effective leaders in corporations, and I run a consulting business called Groove Management that focuses on leadership development. What I've found is that leadership clearly does differentiate the great companies from the rest. But there's a problem with this. US companies alone spend over $170 billion a year on leadership programs. And the question is, are they effective and what's the return on investment? Problem statement, as I see, is the majority of leadership development programs do not deliver on the promise of sustainable behavior change. And as Harvard Business Review states, it's really because there's a flawed format, putting people under fluorescent lights in a classroom. My kid can't sit in a classroom. You sitting in a classroom, you're thinking, did I pay my mortgage? Did I pick up my dry cleaning? It doesn't work. Enter a new approach. We call it LeaderSurf, and it's a combination of taking people and teaching them how to ocean surf and how to be a better leader all at once. It's a field trip for experienced leaders. And so what we do is we differentiate by taking people out of their comfort zone, taking them on an adventure to Nicaragua and Central America, stretching the mind, body, and soul. We do daily surfing lessons. People are in a cohort with other experienced leaders from other companies. We don't allow a company to send 2 people that know each other to a program. The program is 6 to 10 people per program, and we do 4 of them a year. The program components, it's a 6-day, 5-night stay, Buena Onda Beach Resort, a beautiful resort, but in the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, Nicaragua. 5 components, leadership development modules, daily learning, but as you see, I'm in flip-flops here. People are dressed casually where they're at ease, and we do real leadership development learning, but not in a classroom under fluorescent lights. One-on-one executive coaching, pre, post, and during the program. Each person comes with a business challenge, and they share it with the other people, and we actually team solve business problems. Surfing lessons every day, and an important component is humanitarian aid projects. So let me highlight 2 of the examples. I believe the best leaders are self-aware. That's what differentiates a great leader from everyone else. They know their strengths, they know their weaknesses, and they play to their strengths. We use 2 psychometric instruments as pre-work. One is the leading dimensions profile, and another one is the resilience factor inventory. These give you insights into your being and what makes you great and what you need to avoid in terms of your weaknesses. The other piece is, as I mentioned, second poorest in the country in the Western Hemisphere. Big problem with ability to get access to clean drinking water. This filter system, $50 each. We install these in villages. We spend a day doing that. This provides 100 gallons of clean drinking water a day. It's this notion of leadership should be a selfless act. It's about serving others, not serving yourself. And we teach that by going and doing that work. So what does surfing have to do with leadership? Well, there's a lot to this analogy. Recently, an article that was published about the program highlighted these 3 things. The first is that as a leader and as a surfer, you have to observe the landscape. What's right in front of me, but what's on the horizon as well. And so in surfing, you really have to see the waves that are coming. Tether carefully. Who or what you attach yourself to in business and in surfing, it's important that you're aware of that. The last is our mantra is paddle, paddle, paddle. All those sexy pictures of people riding waves, that's 10% at best of surfing. 90% of surfing is paddling. It's hard work. And so teaching the notion of hard work. When was the last time you learned a new physical skill? Right? And this idea of being pushed out of your comfort zone. So our target audience, when we launched the program, and it's been around for a year and a half, done a pilot and 2 full programs, we thought we wanted active lifestyle leaders from companies. And what we found was that they had to sell their boss, and then their boss had to sell HR. We've got to go to the budgetary decision maker. So it's a chief learning officer in an enterprise company or the CEO in a smaller company. 6-day all-inclusive, $6,800 is the price point for the program. That includes everything other than airfare, and that's very competitive to Center for Creative Leadership and other programs that are out there. Having bought these programs for companies, that price point was very well researched. Here's a list of the companies that have been through the program. We have a 50% repeat rate at this point. So companies have incorporated this into their development programming, and it's been tremendous. My goal is to continue to expand the number of well-branded and household name brands sending people to the program. The challenge is this: it is not a boondoggle, but when you tell people that my company is paying for me to go surfing for a week, you start questioning, well, does it really work? And what we found is that it really does work. that it enhances self-awareness. We're getting 5 stars from all the companies that send people through, and they're finding real value in it. So what do we want from you? We want you to help us to think about how do we penetrate this $170 billion enterprise learning space? How do we reach a bigger audience? That's why I'm here, is to get the more of you guys walking around with a koozie that says LeaderSurf, and if you didn't get one, we have extras. Please come see me afterwards. So think out of the box, live differently. That's what we're all about. Thank you.
Wow, that's different. So this resonates with me a little bit because, as Vic knows, I have been on to Antarctica with a guy named Rob Swan twice now, and going again in January of next year. And he does a leadership program called IAE, and it's about 90 hand-picked millennials from around the world, and then 20 or so sort of strategy level Wharton, London School of Economics professors. And you're either sleeping on the ice or in this type of classroom. So one of the things that, one of the benefits I didn't expect to get, but has been really good, is the interaction, particularly with millennials, for the senior level guys, has been really helpful. So I would ask is, have you thought about combining the two? And that also gets over that boondoggle
so
idea,
we
right?
have, the youngest participant has been 34, and I've turned some people away that didn't have enough management or work experience, and the oldest is 54. So we've got a pretty wide range of people. Diane, who's here with me, and you'll see her picture up there, was a participant in the last program, right? And she's kind of smack in the middle of that age, group. But you're right, it's the fact that people come from different generations, different walks of life, different size industries, from a head of finance for MetLife to an entrepreneur that runs a small business. But they find that when they bring their business challenge to each other, everybody can weigh in on the business challenges, and it's getting those diverse opinions. I do a lot of work where I do executive coaching, and one of the things that I do is I have people build their own board of advisors, and this idea of other people giving you feedback and advice on how to do things differently. And the more diverse those groups are, the better the outcomes. So I completely agree with where you're going there.
So you mentioned it was $6,800 a head plus airfare. So what is your cost? So what's your margin on that? What's your cost of services, and then what's your custom acquisition
so I'm not
cost?
looking for investment, so I really don't care to share that that information. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Well then, follow up to that then would be, so what's your capacity in terms of kind of like, what would be running at 100% run rate?
So this is a sister company to my consulting business, so it's kind of a side hustle, but the plan is 4 programs a year. Capacity is 10 per program, so 40 people throughput. In addition to that, I now have MetLife, Comcast as 2 companies that are interested in booking an entire week just for their own company. And where that makes sense is that as much as I believe in putting people that don't know each other together, you actually paradoxically are more comfortable letting your guard down when you're not being judged by your peers. But at the same time, if a company, like a large company, has their own leadership competency model and they don't want to steer away from that, bringing their own group down. If you go and book a hotel for a week for 10 people in Orlando or in Vegas and put all the other stuff into it, you'll end up spending as much as the $68,000 anyway for 10 people.
So it's about 40 a year person per year.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, trying to penetrate the $170 billion market. So obviously you'll cap out pretty quick on the 40 people per year. Is the vision to add new trips or new excursions like the Antarctica thing?
That's a great point, because I was asked at one point, so why LeaderSurf rather than calling it something else that was adventure learning? Since I was a little kid, I had a passion for surfing and see the metaphor and the angle of it. What I've looked at, and this is kind of interesting, with piece of feedback, so far I've had more female participants than male participants, 60-40 split, but there are a number of women leaders that have told me they would like to do the program, but they don't want to be seen in a bathing suit by a bunch of dudes they don't know. And so one of the things that we're looking at is doing a women-only program that I wouldn't facilitate, but somebody else from the team would facilitate next year. And the idea is more around women's empowerment. Instead of doing the water, piece, there's a lot of other charities in Nicaragua that we could do work with around women's issues. So that's kind of an offshoot of it potentially.
Yeah. I'm also involved in a group, Young Life Africa Expeditions. So we take high school and college age kids to Kilimanjaro, and we do a week of mission work usually before, and then climb. And our success rate is 92%. It's above Mountain Madness, Thompson.
It's awesome.
So I think the charity, the something that you get in that charitable piece, if you do it sort of before the whatever the big thing is, it really does work.
Yeah.
And then the other thing on the boondoggle piece, it caught my eye because this is something we focus on, and that is, if you're really doing that much charitable, can that flow through to something either the corporation can write off the individual, or can they get can they get some PR credit for that?
It definitely the humanitarian aid piece definitely resonates with the enterprise-based companies. They see a lot of value in it. The other piece that I say to them in my pitch to them is that imagine you're trying to recruit a senior level leader from another company, and they ask you the question in the interview, what do you do to invest in developing senior level people in your company? Well, we just sent our VP of Finance to Nicaragua for a week to do humanitarian aid, LeaderSurf, and part of this leadership program. All of a sudden, it's like, wow, I want to go work for a company that invests in their people and does out-of-the-box interesting things. So it's kind of, it's, as I say to people, the disruptors are crazy until they get enough momentum. Who would have thought that it was a good idea to buy shoes on the internet? Welcome Zappos. Who would have thought that you'd pick up your phone and call a taxi and get in the car with some stranger, Uber? So as crazy as this may sound to some people, and I've gotten some of that from a lot of people, the testimonials are the people like Diane that have been through this program and say it actually had a huge impact on their personal and their professional life. And I've got a number of testimonials in that respect.
Take one from the audience. Anybody got a question? Yes.
Who and where are you marketing, and
Sure.
what are the benefits that somebody like this lady, what were her comments? Or
Yeah, well, I would love to have her tell you what those were. So you want to come up and say that? And as she's coming up, in terms of who, so chief learning officers, heads of HR, I've got a pretty big network there. I do a lot of writing on LinkedIn. I've done some AdWords stuff. I went to American University for grad school. They just did a piece called Wave Rider, which is a 1,800-word third-party written article about the program, working on trying to get into Inc., Fast Company, and kind of major media outlets with the program. And I think it's just a matter of time before I get the traction. But
and what's your thing when you market in these areas?
it's back to the fact that classroom-based training doesn't deliver sustainable behavior change, and I've got data from the participants in this that show people have either been promoted, they've either made significant inroads and changes in terms of the way that they get in front of groups and have a level of confidence and so forth in the way they run their job. In terms of Diane.
Certainly, like just a sense of clarity after getting feedback from people, from complete strangers. And I think that just the environment in general, it allows everyone to you're literally kicking off your shoes, and you're with strangers, so everyone's in the same boat. You're sort of uncomfortable, but it's instantly comfortable. So I think just personally and professionally, my sense of clarity for everything that I want moving forward, it's sort of, sense of LeaderSurf.
And so how did you put that into your work ethic of whatever it is you do now? How did it change that?
Well, I just think, again, sense of clarity for, you give your business challenge and you get all this feedback, and there are people from all over the country, all over just different industries, and kind of the commonalities, and kind of incorporate that into daily practice. So my sense of clarity, even things, what I charge for my services.
Diane was told that you're undervaluing yourself, your confidence in your business and what you're capable of isn't there. And to get a bunch of strangers that are accomplished business leaders to tell you that, she went and raised her prices significantly and nobody batted an eye.
And I've had more business since LeaderSurf than I had in 2.5 years business prior to that, yeah.
So it's really about this looking within and getting validation from other people is a big piece of it. And this, oh my God, I'm going to get crushed by waves and this is going to be a scary thing. But it's that being comfortable, being uncomfortable is where the learning happens. And that I caught a wave, I stood up on a surfboard. And I did some research that shows that surfing is a top 10 bucket list item for a lot of people. So.
It was a blast in addition to all the productive work stuff too. So.
I will, thank you. If you need a koozie.